Alright, this video I'm going to share my problem with Wing Chun. I just want to share my thoughts on it. This video is not meant to be like offensive or disrespectful, but just kind of like share my genuine thoughts on Wing Chun and what the problems that I have with it. As far as my background is concerned, I started off with a style called Chole Foot Kung Fu. The person that taught me was a Kung Fu Sifu in Chicago, and he practiced Chole Foot for probably, at the time, probably over 25 years. And then he had a son who practiced Wing Chun for like a very long time himself. But I mainly was training from the father, who was a Chole Foot specialist. So I had like limited exposure to the Wing Chun at that time. So really, the beginning style that I started off with was not Wing Chun, it was Chole Foot. And I know a little bit about the Wing Chun and what I see, from their expression, and obviously also from Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee sharing that he started off with the style of Wing Chun, and then developing my perceptions on it based on that, and just also other people that try to claim the style of Wing Chun. And those are my perceptions on it. Also what you see in the movies as they label as Wing Chun. And my main issue is that I think Wing Chun is getting more credit than it deserves. I feel that, at least from my point of view, the only reason why Americans know about Wing Chun and want to learn about Wing Chun was because of Bruce Lee. He was the one who introduced Wing Chun to America, and essentially Kung Fu to America altogether. It was Bruce Lee who did that. And that's the only reason why people say, oh, I want to learn Wing Chun. So like, to me, it's like, rather than saying that they want to learn Wing Chun, they should rather say, I want to learn to be like Bruce Lee. I want to learn his way. Because Bruce Lee's way was not Wing Chun. Bruce Lee's way was his own way. Bruce Lee's way was like, he called it Dao Jeet Kune Do. But it was his unique way. And I feel that everybody out there that knows about Wing Chun and is inspired to practice Wing Chun because of Bruce Lee should not really be a follower of Wing Chun, but should be a follower of Bruce Lee. And I connect with Bruce's teachings. I don't know that much about Wing Chun at all, but I know a lot more about Bruce Lee and his teachings more than anything. And that is what I'm drawn to. I'm drawn to Bruce Lee's teachings. I'm not drawn to Wing Chun at all. I never met Yip Man. I never read a book on Yip Man. I never seen a movie with Yip Man. I don't know anything about Yip Man. So Yip Man is irrelevant to me. And even the creator of Wing Chun, I don't even know her name, but whoever that creator is, I never met her. I never seen her in a video. I never trained with her. I never read any books from her. So she's irrelevant to me as well. But who's relevant to me is Bruce Lee, and I connect with his teachings. And I feel that there's a lot of great styles out there other than Wing Chun that are just as effective, just as amazing, but yet nobody knows them, nobody cares about them, and that's only because there is nobody like a Bruce Lee that brought those styles forward to gain recognition. So one prime example is the Chole Foot, because in China it's known to be like a big thing. It would be like the Chole Foot schools against the Wing Chun schools, and they would literally, at that time, go up on top of the rooftops. This was like Bruce Lee's time, where they'd have the Wing Chun schools actually fight against the Chole Foot schools. And these are two opposing styles. Like, their styles are very different. Chole Foot's more like more power ground, like rounded attacks and very powerful, strong, upper body swinging type of attacks. Wing Chun is more direct and linear. So they're very opposite with their expression. Hello, this is Freddie. Okay, which one are you interested in? Because I have several for sale. Oh yeah, that's still available. It's in Rogers Park. Yeah, it's 1642 West Power Street by the Red Line train station. Like Howard and Paulina, Howard and Chicago Avenue, Howard and Clark, like that by there. Like in between like Sheridan as well. Like Howard and Sheridan. West of Sheridan. Yeah, you're gonna take the red line, you said? I mean, it can't fit in the car. You just gotta, maybe you could like detach the wheel, but you could find a way to hang it out of the trunk, but then it can stick out. But if you want, you can take the wheels off too. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yep, that's fine. Alright. Yeah, goodbye. Alright, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to keep this rolling because I'm just too lazy to edit this stuff. I just want to upload it directly, so you're just gonna have to skip over that part or just enjoy the scenery. But basically, as I was saying about the Wing Chun and the Chole Phut, they used to, you know, they would be like the two opposing schools, two opposing styles. It's like the difference between like Western boxing and like Muay Thai. Like Muay Thai is pretty much like Chole Phut, and then Western boxing is almost like Wing Chun, and it's like them kind of fighting amongst each other. That's kind of how it was, and it's like, people don't know about Chole Phut in America. Like, nobody knows about it. Like, literally, you'll never find anybody even knows about Chole Phut. They'll be like, what is that? But everybody knows about Wing Chun, and the only reason why they know about Wing Chun is because of Bruce Lee. You know, and to me, it's just kind of unfair that Wing Chun, everybody goes around talking about they want to learn Wing Chun, but then nobody even cares about the other styles that come from China, such as like Chole Phut, and there's other things called like Praying Mantis and Hung Gar, and then there's like the Shaolin, and then there's Wushu, Tai Chi. I mean, there's all these other martial arts styles coming out of China that nobody even cares about, but everybody's just talking about Wing Chun, and I feel that Wing Chun doesn't deserve that type of, you know, publicity or even recognition, especially when it's not even that great in itself as a style. You know, because really, Bruce Lee's way is like the ultimate way when it comes to like unarmed combat. Like, there's nothing that goes beyond Bruce's way, you know, because his is just like so complete that there's really nothing that you could add or take away when it comes to like unarmed combat. I mean, you could add a little stuff here and there, but the foundation is still what he discovered. And even he himself said Wing Chun is not effective. It's not effective enough. Like, it needs to be improved, you know, and he improved so much on it. And his way is the real way. And in addition, his teachings are available out there. Like, they're in the books. You know, it's available. You just have to learn how to decode it. You have to learn how to study it and practice it. They're there. His movies are there. You know, it's all right there. And he's somebody who only passed away about 50 years ago. Whereas, you know, Wing Chun, there's no like genuine, authentic books from the creator. There's no genuine, authentic movies. And the person, the creator of it, died probably over 1,000 years ago, and everything is just so watered down and corrupted that it's just not even worth any study. What people should really be focused on are Bruce Lee's teachings. His books are right there. His movies are right there. And yeah, you know, the difference is you can't exploit Bruce's teachings and say that it's your own, because it's clear that it's not. So then what it ends up doing is it forces you to kind of create your own reputation, your own following, based on your understanding of Bruce's teachings. And don't call it Jeet Kune Do, don't call it Jun Fan Kung Fu, don't call it Wing Chun, but call it your own thing. You know, and that's what I feel should happen, you know. I mean, that's the reality of it, you know what I mean? Like, to me, Wing Chun is almost like giving all the credit to Danny Insano and then forgetting about Bruce Lee, when in actuality it's Bruce Lee that's the king. Bruce Lee's the head person. Bruce Lee's the creator. Bruce Lee's the founder. Bruce Lee's he's the true sage. And then you're not focusing on the true person, you're focusing on a disciple of his who's not even close to being where he was, who was like nothing compared to Bruce. I mean, Danny Sano's great, but in my opinion, he's nothing compared to Bruce. And that's, like, to me, the difference between, like, Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee's way, and, like, Wing Chun. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I think that there's just so much corruption in the Wing Chun, from what I see, in my opinion, that it's just, you know, I just think people are just focused on the wrong things. You know, if you really want to learn about Wing Chun, then you should learn from Bruce Lee. And it's not Wing Chun, it's just, this is what works. This is what is scientifically effective. And then, you know, I appreciate Wing Chun in a sense of, like, the passing on of, like, Chinese culture and Chinese ways. But other than that, I don't really care much about it at all. Like, to me, there's no difference between, like, Wing Chun and Chole Fut and Hung Gar and Shaolin, and it's all the same thing. All those traditional things are all the same. You know, you're just learning about the tradition of the martial arts in China. You're learning about the philosophy. You're learning about the way of life and the way of thinking. But as far as the techniques are concerned, they're all outdated. And they're all just, in a way, they're more designed for, like, longevity and of health and just like a philosophical understanding, you know. And if people are practicing that for that, then that's fine, and then that's not Wing Chun, then that's just basically Kung Fu. And it doesn't matter if it's Wing Chun Kung Fu, Chole Fut Kung Fu, Hung Gar Kung Fu, it's still Kung Fu. As long as you're training in Kung Fu, then that means that, hey, you know, you're studying the philosophies, the way of life, and the balanced way of training, you know. But if you're concerned about, like, training in the martial arts to become as efficient as you possibly can in unarmed combat, then Wing Chun is not the answer. You know, Chole Fut's not the answer. Hung Gar's not the answer. Shaolin's not the answer. But Bruce Lee's method is the answer. You know, because he puts everything together, not just all the Chinese martial art styles, but also all the styles all over the world, and analyzing it and figuring out, like, what is scientifically most effective. And yes, not everything is going to be included in his books, but you could, as you advance and you progress, you will be able to figure out the parts that are missing. You will be able to complete the book because of your understanding. He probably gave you at least 80% of everything you need to know, and then you just got to figure out the rest of the 20%. And just because you figured out the rest of the 20% doesn't mean that, you know, you are a founder of a new style. Your foundation is still Bruce Lee's foundation. but it's just that you can't really use his creations and his labels without his permission. So you just end up having to create your own labels and your own creations in order to be more authentic to yourself. But I'm just saying, in my opinion, there's nowhere else to go as far as unarmed combat is concerned. There's nowhere else to go beyond, other than Bruce Lee. And if you learn Wing Chun, then don't look at it as more than it is. It's just basically no different than any other Chinese traditional style. To me, it's no difference between like Wing Chun and Tai Chi and Chole Fut. They're just teaching you a balanced method of training, of exercise, teaching you the way of life of like the Chinese philosophy. But the real combat stuff, the stuff that really does work, it's not that. It isn't that. It's not Wing Chun, clearly. Like I know it's not. And I just feel that there just needs to be a greater appreciation for all Chinese martial arts, not just Wing Chun. I don't like it when people say, oh, I just want to learn Wing Chun, but then they don't want to learn Chole Fut, they don't want to learn Shaolin, they don't want to learn Hung Gar, they don't want to learn any other Chinese style except for Wing Chun. I think that that's the wrong approach, because whatever they're calling Wing Chun is a false approach in itself. There's only bits and parts left over from the original creator that probably is even corrupted itself. And the least corrupted way of the Chinese martial arts out of tradition is going to be Bruce Lee's way, which is the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. And it's just a complete science right there. And I think that people should give more credit to Bruce Lee instead of Wing Chun. I think that Wing Chun is more easily exploitable by the masses, because they'll be like, oh, let me just find a Chinese person, and then any Chinese person could claim themselves to be a master of Wing Chun, and as long as that person authorizes me to be a teacher, now I'm a teacher of Wing Chun as well. It's just a bunch of nonsense to me. But you can't do that to Bruce's teachings, because he just died 50 years ago, and it's going to be pretty obvious. People are going to be able to quickly understand if you're lying or not, because he only died not too long ago. So his teachings can only be exploited so much. There's a limitation of how far his teachings will be exploited, because not only that, he put his teachings in writing, and it was in the movies. And if all of a sudden somebody's coming to you and they're trying to teach you Jeet Kune Do, and then like 90% of the program is about wrestling, and then you compare that to Bruce's movies and his writings, you could clearly see that you've been scammed, that's not correct, because Bruce's way was not 90% ground fighting. Like, you'd be able to identify that. If somebody came along and practiced Jeet Kune Do, and then he's like, Bruce Lee believed in being overweight and out of shape and fitness is not important, then you compare it to the Bruce Lee in his movies, you compare it to Bruce Lee's in his books, you know that this person is lying to you and that this person is scamming you. So it's a lot easier to identify, fraudulent, practitioners of Jeet Kune Do. But when it comes to Wing Chun, people could almost say whatever they want to say and say like this is Wing Chun, but then it's not really Wing Chun, because the foundation of the style is not established where where anything could be approved or disapproved. There's no authority, basically. There's no central authority that's controlling like what is considered corruption and what is not considered corruption. And that's not just with Wing Chun, but that goes with all styles out there that are claimed, that are traditional. As far as like karate and jiu-jitsu and judo and aikido and Muay Thai and all these other styles that are being used as labels are all open up to corruption. And until you create something that's original to you, then you're gonna be lost in this complex web of corruption. But when you create something, you create a new label, then you set the new standard for that label. And then nobody can really corrupt that label as long as you're alive, because you're there to manage the label to ensure its authenticity. You know, so that's what I see. And I promote people to appreciate the Chinese martial arts, not to just appreciate Wing Chun and that's it. I promote people to appreciate the Chinese martial arts. That includes Wing Chun and every other Chinese martial arts style out there, and it also includes Jeet Kune Do. You know, it includes all of it. I promote people to appreciate all of that. You know, and to not give credit to something that hasn't earned it. I think Bruce Lee's the one who put in the hard work to get respect out of his own hard work. You don't see practitioners of Wing Chun that worked as hard as Bruce Lee worked. You know, Bruce Lee deserves that credit. Jeet Kune Do deserves that credit, but not Wing Chun. You know, that's my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, and there's so many other styles out there. I even say myself where something like Chole Phut is very effective, and it's a great style, but it's just that nobody knows about it, and I think that's a shame that there's a lot of Chinese martial arts styles out there that go unknown, and then all this credit goes to Wing Chun, and I don't agree to that. So that's just my feedback on that.